ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। सुखं नित्यं स्वप्रकाशं व्यापकं नामरूपयोः अधिष्ठानं बुद्ध्यबोध्यं बुद्धेर्दृग्यत्तु निर्मलम् अपारं सर्ववेदान्त वेद्यं प्रत्यक्परं महः तदेवाहं न मत्तोऽन्यत् इति मे निश्चिता मतिः। So we were analyzing that the knowledge of Sakshi and Chidabhasa is Yugapat. It takes place simultaneously. While analyzing that, we analyzed few other points subject related to this idea, this concept, that is, how exactly the knowledge takes place. How exactly the knowledge takes place. While analyzing that, we came to a conclusion. We saw a doctrine, a principle, where it was explained that ignorance is residing in, it has locus, and the object of ignorance both is Chaitanya, not anything else. It is not Jiva. Why is it not Jiva? Because Jiva comes later. It is effect of ignorance, and that which is effect of something cannot be the adhisthana, the substratum for its cause. Then we saw how the knowledge takes place. There is object modification, thought modification. Thought gets modified to form a replica of object that is being perceived or to be known. And while that is happening, that thought modification is termed as vritti. That vritti, that thought modification, is born of antahkarana, which is predominantly sattva, and because of that it is able to reflect Chaitanya, and therefore we have reflection of Chaitanya, that is Chidabhasa, in that antahkarana vritti. So that antahkarana vritti is endowed with Chidabhasa. Chit abhasa, reflection of consciousness, Shuddha Chaitanya. With all these, we had come to how exactly that Chidabhasa, which Chidabhasa? Chidabhasa which is present in vritti. What do you mean? Understand it in this way. Chidabhasa is present in what all places? Chidabhasa is present in antahkarana itself, and it continues to be present in that antahkarana vritti. Now here, even though technically or theoretically, even though it is not possible to separate antahkarana vritti and antahkarana, they are yet separated out just for the clarification. Now vritti has been separated out from antahkarana. Why? Because it is going outside through indriyas. In that sense, so as though it has got separated out from antahkarana. for the sake of understanding. Now, even after it has got modified to form something else different from Antahkarana, it has still got the reflection of Chidabhasa. Now, what is the use of that Chidabhasa? What is the purpose of that Chidabhasa? That is being explained. What does Antahkarana Vritti do, and what is the Karya, what is the purpose of Chidabhasa which is present in that Antahkarana Vritti? Why do you need to explain that Chidabhasa, etc.? That is now being told. Bahyartha prakashe vritti chidabhasayoho upayogaha. We have seen this earlier. We have seen this while understanding where avidya, khyati, etc. So, bahyartha prakashe. Bahya artha. Artha vishaya. Prakashe. For illumining. For illumining the artha, the objects which are outside, vritti chidabhasayoho upayogaha. Vritti chidabhasayoho, vritti and chidabhasa. Both vritti and chidabhasa are utilized. They are useful. How? Atredam bodhyam. It should be understood in this way. How? Chaitanyat bhinnam sadasad vilakshanam ajnanam chaitanyam ashritya vartate. Chaitanyat bhinnam. That which is different from Chaitanya. Sadasad vilakshanam ajnanam. Ajnana, ignorance, which is sat asat vilakshana. Different from sat asat, which is neither sat nor asat. Sadasat vilakshanam ajnanam, that ignorance. Chaitanyam ashritya vartate. It is present taking support of Chaitanya. With the help of Chaitanya, it exists. Tena avrutam Chaitanyam avrutam bhavati. And by that ignorance, which is residing in, which has taken support of Chaitanya, Chaitanya gets covered. So, Chaitanya gets covered because of ignorance. Tadeva ghatadi swarupad vibhinnam ajnanam. Ghatadi swarupat, from the nature of ghata. Vibhinnam ajnanam. Ajnana which is different. Ghatadi anashritamapi. Even though it is not residing in ghata, etc. Ashrita, it has not taken support of ghata, etc. Swasadrusham prakasha shunyam jadasvabhava ghatadi rupam karyam jadasvabhavam ghatadi rupam karyam janayati. It produces. What produces? That ignorance, ajnana, produces ghatadi rupa karya, an effect in form of ghata, etc. Like ghata. How does it produces? Swasadrusham, like that ignorance, similar to its own nature. Prakasha shunyam, inert, not self-luminous, so not self-evident. Tasmat ghatadi vastu andhavat sada avrutameva bhavati. Like a blind person for whom everything is unknown, in the same way, ghatadi vastu, objects such as etc. are avrutam, covered. The crux, the conclusion is ignorance produces, gives rise to an effect which is similar to itself. That is to say that that effect is not self-evident, not self-effulgent. So you cannot know that thing by itself. For light is self-evident. You don't need something else to see light, or lamp, not light, lamp. It is not the case here. Why? Because it is inert. So by itself it is covered. It is ajnana avruta. There is no Bhinna avarana. Avarana is in that object itself. Why? Its nature. Yet, it has another avarana. What is it? That is going to come later. Tatha hi. Tamoguna pradhanam ajnanat. Tamoguna pradhanat ajnanat. Ajnana, which is tamoguna pradhana. Panchabhutotpatti dwara. Panchamahabhutotpatti dwara. By the by producing the effect which is Panchamahabhuta. 5 elements. Ghatadayaha jayante. Ghata etc. are born. So there are Panchamahabhuta, then there is Tamapradhana Prakriti, then Tamapradhana Prakriti has Sattva-pradhana, Raja-pradhana and Tama. From that Tama, what is born? Panchikarana takes place, and from that Panchikarana, Ghata etc. are produced. So Ghata etc. has its cause in Tamo Guna Pradhana Ajnana, which is predominantly Tama alone. Therefore, Tamo Gunaha cha Avaranaka Swabhavaha. Tamo Guna being Avaranaka Swabhava, being of the nature of veiling, covering. Ghatadayaha prakashashunyaha andhibhutaha eva vartante. Tasmat. Therefore, Ghata etc., pot etc., prakashashunyaha, not self-effulgent, not self-evident. Andhibhutaha, always covered, not available for experiencing, not available for knowledge. Eva vartante. In that sense alone they are present. एवं अंधतारूपमावरणं घटादौ अज्ञानकार्यत्वात् स्वभावतः सिद्धम्. This avarana, andhataroopam, not available for perception, not available for knowledge. This avarana, ajnana karyatvat, being the product of ajnana, ghatadau, in pot etc., swabhavatah siddham, is self-explanatory. Pot etc. by itself are not known. Why they are not known? Because they are product of ignorance and they are covered by themselves. Yet, Ghatadi adhisthana chaitanyam ashritya vartamanam ajnanam chaitanyam avritya swabhavataha eva avrutam ghatadikam api avrunoti. Now that ignorance which is residing in Chaitanya, Ghatadi adhisthana chaitanyam ashritya. Now there is Chaitanya which has formed support for that Ghata etc. Pot etc. need Chaitanya to exist. Now the substratum, that is Chaitanya, on which these pot etc. are existing, in that Chaitanya, Ajnana, ignorance also has taken support. So ignorance also is present in that same locus. And that ignorance has covered that adhisthana Chaitanya. And because covering is its nature, veiling is the nature of ignorance, swabhavatah eva, by itself, what do? That ignorance also covers the pot which is present in that same locus. Now pot is covered by itself. Pot is covered by itself. Why? Because it is product of ignorance. At the same time, the ignorance which is otherwise present in that same locus will cover that pot again. Now you may say, why do you need an object which is already covered, another covering for that object? स्वभावतः एव संवृत पदार्थस्य पुनः संवरणे प्रयोजन अभावेपि आवरक पदार्थः सप्रयोजनापेक्षां विनैव आवृत पदार्थवत् एव आवृतमपि पदार्थं पुनः आवृणोत्येव. स्वभावतः एव संवृत पदार्थस्य, स्वभावतः एव, by itself, by its own nature, आवृत पदार्थस्य, padartha which is avrita, covered. Punaha, again. Samvarane, for covering. Punha samvarane, for covering. Prayojanabhavepi, for the abhava. Prayojana, abhava, in absence of prayojana. Avarakaha padarthakaha, padartha, object which covers. Swaprayojanapeksham, even though there is no purpose for it to cover. There is no purpose. Swaprayojana apeksham vina, without its expectation. Avruta padarthavat eva avrutamapi. Avrutamapi padartham. That object which is already covered. Avruta padarthavat eva. Anavruta padarthavat eva. As though the object is not covered. Punaha avrunoti. It covers again. In short, even though an object is covered by itself, an entity which covers will cover that object as though the object is not covered. Does it need to? Is there any purpose behind? No. But even without any purpose, because it is its nature to cover, it will cover that object. And how will it cover that object? Considering that that particular object is not covered. A similar example can be given. When it rains, rain does not decide or say, no, this is ocean, this is lake, there is enough water, so let me not rain in this area, I will rain somewhere else. To rain is its nature. The water falling down is its nature. Showering, it is its nature. So it is going to shower whatever that is on the ground. Let there be enough water, let that be water body itself, or let that be a desert wasteland. Arid area, dry area. It is going to shower everywhere. Why? Because it is its nature. So whatever that is on the ground, it is going to cover, it is going to consider as if it's the same. Similarly, pot, etc., even though they are covered by themselves, being the product of ignorance, ignorance will again cover them. Etaccha sarvaloka prasiddham, and this is very well known colloquially in the world. Tadrusha jnanavrita ghatadi sanyuktantah karana parinama rupayam. Now, this is the real part. Forget how is it covered, why is it twice covered, it is not necessary at all. It is just a technical part. Just because a question can be raised, it has been answered. It is not really necessary in understanding in how knowledge takes place. This part is very much important. Tadrusha ajnanavrita ghatadi sanyuktantah karana parinama rupayam chidabhasa sahita ghatadyakara vrittau. Chidabhasa sahita ghatadyakara vrittau. Chidabhasa sahita, that which is along with Chidabhasa. What is it? Ghatadyakara vrittau. A vritti, thought modification which has taken the shape of ghata, etc. So a thought modification which has become replica of ghata, that vritti which is endowed with Chidabhasa. Okay, that vritti which is endowed with Chidabhasa, and let's not forget, which is this ghata? Ghata which is endowed with that ajnana. Ajnana vrita. Sanyuktantah antahkarana parinama rupayam. Vrittau. Vritti which is parinama, modification of antahkarana. So a thought which is modification of antahkarana, that thought which has taken the shape of ghata, a pot which is covered by ignorance, and that thought which is endowed with chidabhasa. In there, yo vritti bhagaha, that which is thought modification part. Now there are two parts. One is thought modification and other one is vritti. Not vritti, chidabhasa. One part is thought modification, another part is vritti. They are going together. That which is vritti bhagaha, what is that going to do? Saha ghatadinam avaranam nivartayati. That vritti part is going to uncover. It is going to remove that avarana which is on ghata, etc. Okay, avarana is removed. But you need illumination. Why? Because they are not self-luminous. You need something to illumine them. Otherwise, knowledge is not going to take place. Then what is going to illumine that object? Chidabhasa bhagastu ghatadi vishayam prakashayati. So ghata etc. are illumined by that chidabhasa. Itham बाह्य पदार्थ प्रकाश विषये वृत्ति तस्थ चिदाभासयोः उभयोः अपि विनियोगो भवति. In this way, for the knowledge of the objects outside, vritti, thought modification, and chidabhasa, they both are utilized. Now, if you ask me, this whole explanation could have been simplified. How is it simple? See, it is author's vivaksha, the way of explaining. And why he has explained it in this way? Because he knows there are going to be unfortunate questions which are going to be raised and he will not be present in person to explain them. So he has to use all these subclauses etc. to explain. For understanding, it is very much simple. What is happening is, when the object outside is being known, even though I have explained it in earlier, this is the conclusion of this whole discussion. For that sake, I am explaining. There are two things. One is thought modification, which is otherwise known as vritti, and chidabhasa, which is present in that vritti. Vritti tatstha chidabhasa. So there are two parts. One is vritti part and one is chidabhasa part. What they are going to do? They both have their own independent purpose. What vritti is going to do is, it is going to uncover. And what chidabhasa is going to do is, chidabhasa is going to illumine. If there is no vritti, understand, if there is no vritti, there is going to be illumination, but no knowledge, no uncovering. And this field, this area goes into adhyasa. If you remember, we had said, why do we see rope? Why do we see snake on rope? Because the rope does not get uncovered. If vritti, thought modification, had taken the exact shape of rope, we would have known rope. But because there is no avarana nasha, veiling is not destroyed, and only illumining is there. So we know vaguely some shape, and that some shape is associated with prior experience, that is snake, etc. So for the knowledge of an object, both the things are required. That's how we differentiate their own actions, purposes. Vritti is going to uncover the object, because while uncovering it is going to take the exact shape, replica of that object, and Chidabhasa is going to illumine. Now, for this, example is being given. Atra drishtanta, this is the example. Tamasi mridbhandena kenachit mrunmayam lohamayam va kinchid vastu samvrutamaste. Tamasi, in the darkness. Mridbhandena, by mridbhanda, mud pot. Kenachit mrunmayam lohamayam va kinchid vastu samvrutamaste. An object, lohamayam mrunmayam, object made up of clay or iron, etc., any metal, is covered. Tatra dandadina mridbhande avarane bhagnepi. With stick, even if you destroy that pot which is covering the object inside, vinatu deepa prakasham, without external light, tadantastham vastu na prakashate. The object which is inside is not known, it is not illumined. Apitu deepadina eva prakashate. But if the lamp is there, it gets illumined. Tatha ajnanavrita ghatadehe vishayasyavarane vruttya vinashite api न घटादि रूप विषयः प्रकाशेत यतः घटादि विषयः जडः वृत्तिरपि जडा तस्याः विषयावरण निवृत्ति मात्रं प्रयोजनं न तु अनया विषय प्रकाशः जायेत. In the same way, अज्ञानावृत घटादेः विषयस्य आवरणे वृत्त्या विनाशितेपि, even though pot which is covered by ignorance gets uncovered because of vritti, that avarana even though has been destroyed by vritti, yet that pot etc. is not known. Why? Because it has not yet been illumined. Why has not that been illumined? Because ghata, pot etc. are jada. They cannot reveal themselves like a lamp. Vritti is jada. Therefore, it cannot illumine that object. Their purpose is uncovering alone. Natu anaya vishaya prakashaha jayeta. By that vritti or by that object itself. Either by vritti or either by object itself. Vishaya prakashaha. Object does not get illumined. Tasmat, therefore, घटादि विषयावभासकः वृत्तिस्थचिदाभासः एव. So, illuminator is घटादि विषयावभासकः वृत्तिस्थचिदाभासः. Vrittisthachidabhasa, that chidabhasa alone does the function of illumining that object. Now, while being on this topic, another topic has been joined and taken up. This is the method of pratyaksha jnana. चक्षुरीन्द्रिय गोचर वस्तु प्रत्यक्ष ज्ञानम पूर्वोक्त क्रमेण जायते. An object which take it this way. An object which is in the field of eyes, which is in the field of eyes, that is, that which can be perceived through eyes, of that object, the direct knowledge is going, not direct knowledge, the direct perception is going to take place in the earlier way. So, if an object is to be perceived through eyes, This is how it is going to be known. How pot is being seen, etc. श्रोत्रादीन्द्रिय गोचर पदार्थ प्रत्यक्ष ज्ञानमपि इत्थमेव जायते इति विज्ञेयम्. So the knowledge which is gained through ears, etc., is in the same way. This is how it should be known. So although as though vrittis are going to go outside and they are going to come in contact with that object which is going to be perceived, etc. Now, some will argue that everywhere the vritti is not going to go outside. Why? Because for skin, etc., there is direct contact. So vrittis, they don't have to go outside. The object itself is going to come in contact. But we are not going to go into that discussion, because it can be said that if vritti does not go outside through these indriya, how can perception take place? Object is not going to go inside, and vritti's antahkarana is inside. So it is just a technical verbatim. So let's not go into that discussion. The simple thing is, vritti comes in contact with object which is going to be perceived. When it comes in contact with that object, whether it is sound, whether it is touch, whether it is taste, whether it is smell, when it comes in contact, it modifies and becomes replica of an object that is to be known, and the further process is the same. When it becomes replica, avarana bhanga takes place, destruction of veiling, covering takes place, and chidabhasa which is present in that vritti is going to illumine that object. Now, therefore, what is pratyaksha jnana? What is direct perception? Vritti vishayayoho ekadeshasthatvat घटज्ञानम प्रत्यक्षम इति उच्यते. वृत्ति विषययोः. Vritti, thought modification. Vishaya, the object of knowledge. Ekadeshasthatvat, being in one place alone. Being in the exact same plane alone. Ghatadjnanam, the knowledge of pot, is said to be pratyaksham, direct perception. What do you mean? Simple. Antahkarana vrittihi, thought modification, yada ghatadi vishayaihi saha, ghatadi vishayaihi saha, with the objects such as pot, etc., sambandha labhat, in absence of coming in contact, bahir nirgamana bhava abhavena antare antaha eva ghatakara bhavati, without going outside, when it by itself inside, by itself, inside itself, becomes of the nature of the shape of ghata, etc. Tada, at that time, jayamanam ghatadi jnanam, the knowledge of pot, etc., which is born, it's said to be paroksha jnanam iti uchyate. It's said to be paroksha. What is the difference? Here it is. How do you say, how do you express your experience of that knowledge? How are you expressing that knowledge? There the difference lies. I am going to explain this again, but let's just go through this text right now. Ayam ghataha iti aparoksha jnanasya akaraha. This is pot, is the nature of aparoksha jnana. Now aparoksha here is not like aparoksha in the sense of Brahma jnana. Here aparoksha is referring to pratyaksha. Ghataha asti, pot is, iti, in this way, or saha ghataha, that is pot. In this sense, itiva paroksha jnanasya akaraha. This is of the nature of paroksha jnana. Let's understand it in this way. how Pratyaksha was described or defined. Pratyaksha was defined as Vritti Vishayayoho Ekadeshatva. The object and Vritti are in one and the same place. Object and Vritti are in one and the same place. Which Vritti? That Jnana Vritti. That Jnana Vritti is also in the exact same place where the pot lies. Now, if I don't know pot, let's take a hypothetical example where somebody says, have you seen that pot? I had kept it here. I said, I don't know what is pot. I don't know what pot looks like. What is it? Then he says, it is a vessel made up of clay which has round bottom and narrow mouth and water is held inside. Like a water bottle, but it is a round shape. It is in round shape. It's not tall but round. Oh, that is pot. Now I have understood what pot is. But have my thought modifications come in contact with pot wherever it is? No. Yet, in my mind, a vritti in the shape of pot has taken place. That's why, how did I express my experience? That is pot, saha ghataha, or ghata is, pot is. So, if somebody says, pot is there on the table, in adjacent room there is pot on the table. Now I have not gone there and seen the pot, but I have understood, okay, the table I will imagine, I will visualize, or if I have experience, I have seen that earlier, I will know what that table looks like and I will imagine, okay, pot is there somewhere on that table. But what have I known? Pot is. Again, there are subtle differences in the nature of this vritti. The existence of pot, remembering the shape, etc. There are these small details, but which are not necessary in this particular concept idea. The basic idea is in that knowledge vritti, jnana vritti, and the knowledge, the object of which knowledge is taking place, they are not in the same locus. So if they are in different locus, it is paroksha, and if they are in same locus, it is pratyaksha. And this again comes very close to aparoksha. There is very small difference in aparoksha and pratyaksha. Any object which is not different from me at all, and is being experienced, directly, not indirectly, that will be aparoksha. And if that object is being experienced directly as in through indriya, etc., and it is different from me, it will be pratyaksha. Therefore, a vritti, brahmakara vritti, etc., Brahman is experienced, known. But is it experienced as something which is different from me or as myself? It is experienced as myself. Therefore, it cannot be categorized as pratyaksha. That's why the word is used aparoksha. Of course, there are another detailed explanations also, but this is the very minute difference. So at sometimes for pratyaksha, aparoksha also can be used. Why? Because it is direct. It is like aparoksha, well evident, very much evident. That's why author here has used ayam ghataha, this is pot. So much evident, it is like, that's why Brahmanubhava, how is it said? Karatala amalakavat, like a gooseberry fruit on a palm. Amala, amala fruit, any fruit which is on my hand. It is well evident, there is no doubt about it. Now the example is in the field of pratyaksha, direct perception, yet it is used for aparoksha. Why? That's how evident the knowledge is. That's how clarity is there. That's what has been indicated here. Now, because the topic has started, author now goes further with what exactly knowledge is. What is prama? And what are the means of knowledge? Now, because the thought modification took place in my mind where I knew or I came to know pot. How did I come to know pot? Without my thoughts coming in contact with a real pot outside. Now, same thing happens when I remember pot. If I just say, oh, now it's mango season, how beautiful mangoes are. When I say so, you quickly imagine, okay, that beautifully smelling mango, its orange luster, its yellowish texture, the sweetness, etc., everything. Now, you have remembered. That is smriti. So, smriti api, that remembering, smriti also is paroksha jnanameva. It can be called as paroksha jnana, yet it is not jnana, it is not knowledge. Tathapi smriti anubhavahita samskarajanya is born out of prior experiences. Is born of prior experiences. It is not born from pramana, means of knowledge. Anumityadi paroksha jnanam tu pramanajanyamitiyan bhedah. Knowledge which is born of anumana etc. is always paroksha and it is pramanajanya, born out of valid means of knowledge. Valid means of knowledge. Are there invalid means of knowledge? Yes, there are. What are they? When we are going to see that pramana vishaya, there we are going to understand how it can be invalid. Now, because we are on this topic, author says, pramana prasangat pratyakshanumana shabdopamanarthapatyanupalabdhi pramanani nirupyante. Now, because we are on the topic of pramana, let me explain these pramanas. What are they? Pratyaksha, anumana, shabda, upamana, arthapatti, anupalabdhi. Pratyaksha pramanam, direct perception. चार्वाकमतस्थाः प्रत्यक्षम एकमेव प्रमाणम इति अंगीकुर्वन्ति. Charvaka etc. say, Charvaka, those who are Charvaka darshana. So those who say Charuvak, beautiful speech, what do they say? Body is, there is no Ishvara, there is nothing, etc. Pratyaksha, that which can be seen by eyes, that alone is real. When this body dies, there is nothing, no paraloka, no mukti, etc. nothing. Runam kritva ghritam pivet, etc. Those Charvaka. They say pratyaksham ekam eva pramanam. Pratyaksha alone is pramana. There is no other pramana. Okay. Anumana pramanam. Pratyaksha pramana, that is direct perception. Anumana pramana, inference. Kanata sugata matanusarinah द्वितीयम् अनुमानमपि प्रमाणत्वेन अंगीकुर्वन्ति. Kanada Nayyayika and Sugata Bauddha, they and the followers of them, Dvitiyam, second, Anumana Pramanamapi, inference also take as pramana, means of knowledge. Pratyakshasya एव एकस्य प्रमाणत्वांगीकारे तृप्तिमिच्छतः भोजने प्रवृत्तिः न स्यात्. भावी भोजने तृप्ति निरूपित हेतुत्वस्य प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाणजन्य प्रत्यक्ष ज्ञानाभावात्. अतः आगामि भोजनं तृप्तिकारणं भोजनत्वात् पूर्वानुभूत भोजनवत् इति अनुमानेन पूर्वभोजने अनुभूतं यत् तृप्तिहेतुत्वं तद् भावी भोजनेऽपि ज्ञात्वा तृप्तिकामः भोजने प्रवर्तते इति वाच्यम्. If we don't take anumana pramana, if we do not take anumana pramana as means of knowledge, what's going to happen is the one who is desirous of satisfaction and peace of mind will not eat food. I think this author must have experienced stress eating. That's why he has given this example. You know, people when they are stressed, they tend to eat lot of food. And that's why he has used this example. Trupti Vichataha. For the peace of mind, for satisfaction. Nobody would have gone to eat food. Nobody would have eaten. Why? There is no relation, there is no sense. How will one know? Because you will have to eat food to experience the satisfaction. And to experience that satisfaction, you will have to eat food. And for that, you need to have prior knowledge. You need to have experience. So, there is no sense at all. Bhavi bhojane, the food that you are going to eat, trupti nirupita hetutvasya. In that food, after eating that food, I am going to be satisfied. This knowledge, for this understanding, pratyaksha pramana janya pratyaksha jnana bhava. There is no direct knowledge which is available to give me that information. No direct knowledge is available to give me information, give me knowledge that the food that I am going to eat is going to give me satisfaction. For that, what do you need? You need inference alone. How is it? Ataha, therefore, agami bhojanam trupti karanam. The food that I am going to eat is going to relieve my pain, is going to relieve my stress, is going to be the cause of my satisfaction, happiness. Why? Bhojanatvat, because it is food, purvanubhuta bhojanavat, the food that I had eaten earlier, and that food had given me satisfaction, calm, peace of mind. And because after eating food, I am calm, the stress goes away. Iti anumanena, by this inference, purva bhojane anubhutam yat trupti hetutvam. The trupti, the ananda, the satisfaction which was experienced in the food that was taken earlier, tad bhavi bhojane pinyatva, knowing that in the food which he is going to eat, trupti kamaha, desirous of ananda, desirous of happiness, bhojane pravartate iti vachyam, takes to eating food. Iti vachyam, this is how it should be understood. Tasmat, therefore, anumanam api pramanam. Anumana also is a pramana. Itham, in this way, kanata suganabatanusarinah pratyakshanumanam cha iti dvayamapi pramanatvenangi kurvanti. So the followers of Kanada Sugata, that is Nyaya and Bauddha Darshana, they take Anumana and Pratyaksha both as pramana. Further, more pramanas are going to be explained. and how Smriti is not Pramana. Why Smriti is not Pramana, that also is going to be explained, but that we will see next time. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om